Uh, when we took the notorious wonder drug LSD,
Yeah.
it was we didn't know we were having it. John and I had this drug, and it was given. We were having dinner with our dentist.
All right, let's get real for a second. You ever wonder what it actually took for John Lennon to quit LSD? Because, spoiler alert, it wasn't rehab, it wasn't a police bust, and it sure as hell wasn't Paul McCartney telling him to stop. Nah, man. Lennon swapped acid trips for meditation retreats. Yeah, you heard that right. Meditation. By 1967, LSD had spread throughout campuses and bohemian neighborhoods around the globe, yet by the end of the semi-mythical Summer of Love, the Beatles had become disillusioned with the substance. Rather than enlightenment in a bottle, they began to see it as just another drug. On August 24, 1967, the Beatles roll up to a lecture by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi on transcendental meditation. They were so into it, they literally packed bags that night and went off to a 10-day meditation retreat in North Wales. Now, here's where it gets even crazier. Just weeks later, John Lennon and George Harrison sit down with legendary TV host David Frost. Meditation helped them in their search for answers, or at least gave them a sense of peace amid the ambiguity. Lennon and Harrison were eager to share what they learned, particularly with a host like Frost. Frost asked the duo, "This feeling that meditation gives is a sort of permanent version of what drugs can give temporarily. Is that true?" Lennon responded with characteristic frankness, saying, "We'd had enough acid. It had done all it could do for us. There was no going any further. It only does so much. What it does mainly is more to do with finding out about yourself and your ego. And that kind of scene. If you have acid, it's just all about yourself. Meditation is a bit gentler." Frost pressed on, asking how their relationship to material wealth had evolved since their meditation studies. Harrison said, "By having all that money we found, money wasn't the answer. Because we had lots of material things that people spent their whole lives trying to get. We managed to get them at quite an early age. It was good, really, because we learned that wasn't it. We still lacked something." During another interview, George Harrison talked about taking LSD with John Lennon.
When we took the notorious wonder drug LSD,
Yeah.
it was we didn't know we were having it. John and I had this drug, and it was given. We were having dinner with our dentist, and he put it in our coffee and never told us. And we never heard of it. I mean, it's a good job we hadn't heard of it, because there's been so much paranoia created around the drug that people now, if they take it, they're already on a bad trip before they start. Whereas for us, we didn't know anything. We were so naive, and so we had it, and we went out to a club, and it was incredible. It was really incredible. So a couple of years later, Paul had the drug too. And the TV people in England came and they said, "So you've had this wonder drug LSD?" And he was saying, "Well, look, it's, you know, the question you asked me about the responsibility for everybody else." Paul said to the TV people, "Look, I'm not saying if I had the drug. It's you. If you're going to ask me if I've had it, I'm going to say yes because I've had it. I'm not going to lie." So he said, they said, "Well, have you had LSD?" And before they asked, he said, "It's your responsibility, because if you're going to ask me and I'm going to say yes, and you're going to put it on the TV saying, yes, we've had LSD." So really, it was their fault. So they asked the question, Paul said yes, and then they put it on and said, "Oh, they've had LSD," and then the world goes crazy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, during an interview, John Lennon explained that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was not about the drug LSD.
Let me confirm quickly a couple rumors with you.
Yes.
One of them, has it ever been settled whether Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was a code for anything?
It never was, and nobody believes me. I even saw some famous star introducing, I've forgotten who it was, introducing a Lennon-McCartney show, and it was Mel Torme saying about how Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was about LSD. This is the truth. My son came home with a drawing and showed me this strange-looking woman flying around. I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." And I thought, that's beautiful. I immediately wrote a song about it. The song had gone out, the whole album had been published, and somebody noticed that the letters spelt out LSD. And I had no idea about it. And of course, after that, I was checking all the songs to see what the the letters spelled out.
Yeah.
They didn't spell out anything, none of the others, and it wasn't about that at all, you know.
They could do that. Eleanor Rigby
But nobody
was,
believes, you see. Yeah.
stood for
There was Henry
erotic
the
reading.
Horse in a song I wrote called Mr. Kite. The lyrics, which I got most of it off, was an old poster for an old-fashioned circus, you know, from the 1800s. And it was all about Pablo Fanke's fair, and the horse was there. And they said Henry the Horse was horse, which I didn't know anything about then, you know.
Happiness is the warm gun.
And Happiness is a Warm Gun was another one, they said, which was banned on the radio. They said it was about shooting up drugs.
During an interview with Rolling Stone in 1970, Lennon also shared his thoughts about the Beatles doing LSD in California in 1965.
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember. You know, it was just.
Everybody get up.
Then later, I can't remember. You know, we were all just a bit down. You know, I thought, wow. You know, I don't remember that kind of thing. I only remember the highlights. You know, and then we just decided to take it again in California. Yeah, we were on tour in one of those houses, like, you know, Doris Day's house or whatever it was we used to stay, and the three of us took it. Ringo, George and I think maybe Neil, and a couple of the Birds, you know, that, what's his name? The one in the Steels and Nash thing. You know the Birds? B-Y-R-D? Crosby and the other guy who used to be the leader. McGuinn. I think they came around, I'm not sure, on a few trips.